Hey guys, I just want to say if you're liking this video, do us a big huge favor and try to watch through the whole thing. There may be some information that you may not have expected. Plus it really helps out the channel. And thanks for watching. Alright guys, hey, this is Jeff here. Welcome back to Runnergy, and I'm Jeff here, your host at the Runner's Desk. And today we got a big one here. I'm going to be going over my picks here for daily training, running, and walking shoes based off of what people are actually getting at shoe stores, at technical running shoe stores. You know, your regular person that's looking for running shoes, not your speedy gazelles looking for super fast training shoes. So I'm going to be breaking these down by price, and I'm going to be breaking them down by stability. We're going to be focusing on right now the stability in a shoe, because cushioning, to be quite honest, is subjective. So one person might think this shoe feels more cushy than the other person who thinks that the Mizuno is cushy, which it's not. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. So let's talk about stability, because that's kind of a very misused word out there. So this is very important. So when you are asking about stability in a shoe, as far as people at a shoe store and the shoe industry, they are talking about pronation control. Pronation is when you're going towards the center of the body. Supinating is when you go outside of the body. So let's look at it on a shoe. If you are in the shoe here and you pronate, you would land on the outside of your heel and you pronate to here. This is called neutral. But if you land from here and you go past this point of neutral and you keep going this way, that is called overpronating or excessive pronating. Does that make sense? I hope so. Because if you land here and you just roll to here, that doesn't really mean you pronate enough to need a pronation reinforced stability over thingy bobbered on the side of the shoe here, okay? So you would still technically fall into what's called a neutral support, or really stupidly called a cushion shoe, because you don't need the extra stability for the overpronation. Really dumb naming. It's really dumb. I hate that. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. All right, guys. So the first set of shoes I'm going to be going over are the neutral support shoes, although they do handle some good amount of pronation, that are up to about $150. We're going to do that, and then I'm going to have another category of the same of shoes over $150. So these are, like, again, the shoes that most people are getting for good reason, because they fit well, they're consistently well designed. This is up to $150. So, and they're not in any particular order. So we're going to start with here, the Brooks Ghost version 17. This is a great update. Much enhanced cushioning compared to the previous version 16. They added 2 more millimeters to the shoe, and then they actually lowered the heel a little bit. So I didn't really get into the heel drop on the shoes, but in most cases, most of these shoes are going to have around an 8 millimeter drop to a 10 millimeter drop. I tend to find most people are getting shoes with that kind of drop general use. There is one weirdo shoe in here with a lower drop, but we'll get to that. But right now, the first one is the Brooks Ghost version 17. Very, very good fitting shoe. People have really liked this. So that is the first one on the list here that you should check out. Saucony Ride 18, version 18. That has also been a great update. Moderate cushioning in there. Fits really, really well for a medium width foot. Most of these will come in widths, by the way, at least wides. Mizuno Rider version 29. I've heard really good things on that latest version. The Asics Cumulus 27. Again, the only thing I don't like on that Cumulus version 27 is the tongue. Asics is like all of a sudden become the most inconsistent brand with tongues. Some of them have great tongue, some of them have a horrible tongue. This is a weird part of the video. I understand I'm talking about a tongue. But yeah, it's I don't know. Hey, you know, going way back, Asics had a weird tongue with it split down the middle. So hey, you know, maybe they're just keeping the tradition going. Weird Asics tongues. But version 27 of the Cumulus, I love just about everything else about that shoe. Of course, the last one on this list of neutral support shoes that, again, the broad spectrum of people are getting for good reason is the Hoka Clifton 10. So this is another one where they beefed up the heel drop to 8 from 5, which I think was a bold move, but it was a smart cash grab. I mean, they're going to pick up so many more people because they're going to pick up all the podiatry referrals and all of the physical therapy referrals now having an 8mm drop, at least having the option of an 8mm drop. So the new Clifton is definitely beefier in the heel and more stable than previous Cliftons. It's a really good update. The fit has been really nice. Now for the weirdo shoe that's on this list, and I love this shoe, which is why it's on this list, is the New Balance 880. So this is very solid, very stable. Why is it weird? Because it has a 6mm drop. Again, typically most people in this category, people out there shopping, they're going to get a shoe with an 8 or 10mm drop. But what makes this shoe so great is that not only has it got great cushioning, great stability, but the 6mm drop gives you an option out there. It works great in the gym. So if you're doing like lunges and squats and HIIT workout and you want that more like leveled or flatter shoe, this gets you like a pretty normal shoe with a 6mm drop. So really, really nice option out there for someone who's doing a little bit of cardio, running and so forth, and they want a lower drop for the gym, doing lunges and squats or that, or they just prefer a lower heel drop. Maybe they're coming from an Ultra, which has 0 drop. All right, told you there's gonna be a lot of shoes here. Okay, we're moving on with these neutral support shoes that are now a little more premium over that $150 price point. What do you get with these ones? Well, what you're getting on here are typically more cushioning. So you're just getting more enhanced cushioning. So maybe you don't want that. Maybe you like a firmer, more responsive feeling shoe, stick with the lower price point. But if you want that kind of more plushy, cushy, luxurious feeling shoe, I got a couple of them here. So starting with the Brooks Glycerin version 22. This is the regular Brooks Glycerin version 22. You'll find out in a minute that there's 2 categories of the 2 different shoes of the glycerin. This is just the regular glycerin. They did a great job on this. One thing that can happen when you go more cushioned is you lose some stability, but not in this case. They actually have 2 different kinds of foam in the shoe. Down the center, down the middle, is some softer foam, and then it's surrounded around the edges with a more stable foam. So the new glycerin version 22 brings this in, this 2 density foam of softer down the middle and more stable around the edges. So really nice combination. The next shoe on here is just massive cushy, which is the Nimbus 27. Super thick, super over cushion, very plushy shoe. The Nimbus Asics Nimbus 27. I have a full review, I believe, on that. So anyway, the Saucony Triumph 23, I think they did a great job on this shoe. Still remains very cushy and plushy, but they made it so much less bulky for somehow, and less bulky and more responsive. So really nice update on that Saucony Triumph 23. Let's see here. And then the last one is another kind of weirdo shoe, is the New Balance 1080. Which of course is just like the 880, it has a 6mm drop. It's not quite as stable as the 880. So, but if you're okay with the stability that's in it and you want a little lighter feeling, more responsive, kind of cushy feeling shoe, the New Balance 1080 is a good choice. All right, so that is my options there of kind of higher, a little more premium shoes that people are getting. These are wildly popular shoes for good reason. So anyway, that concludes the neutral support shoes. We're now looking at the running shoes with some extra stability. Those are the ones that have like that extra little more reinforcement for if you really excessively overpronate and roll in. So in the stability here, I'm just putting all of them in one price category. Starting with the Hoka Arahi version 8. Now this is just coming out. It's just come out, but just got my hands on a pair of them recently to check out. It is the Hoka Arahi version 8, and the big difference here from previous versions is that it has an 8mm drop. So they have really changed the shoe, just like the Hoka Clifton has an 8mm drop now. Another shoe on this category is the Asics Kayano 32, which is a little bit more pricey shoe. It's in that, I believe, 170-ish range. Asics Kayano version 32 has been fitting very well, a little less clunky than the last two versions of the Kayano, the 30 and 31. The New Balance 860, that shoe's kind of different because that actually has like a plastic piece running through it. Definitely has a following. The next one would be the Brooks Glycerin GTS version, very important. Now remember, before I mentioned the Brooks Glycerin version 22 regular version. This is the GTS. When you have GTS in the name of a Brooks shoe, you know that you're looking at a stability shoe for pronation control, right? So Brooks uses these little things called guide rails on the side of the shoe that kind of help guide the foot to stay straight. They're not overbearing like some designs have been in the past. But yeah, Brooks Glycerin GTS version is also a great option in the stability category. Last thing here, we're going to be closing it off with the weirdo shoe for the stability category. And this is the Saucony Guide version 18. And that's my shoe. I have the version 17 here. And again, it's just really beefed up on this side here, this foam here. It's not different foam, but it's just much thicker and so forth than, say, this side of the shoe. This is definitely, much more beefy on the medial side, pronation side, I guess you can call it. Why is it weird? Again, it has a 6mm drop. So the back of the shoe is only 6mm taller than the front of this shoe. So whatever this is, it's 6mm more in the back, which is kind of different for this category, or just in general. Most of the time it's 8 to 10 millimeters taller in the back. All right, we are getting through this. We're going to do a little category here for us walkers, or our walkers out there. I walk run, so for the walkers out here, I got a little list of options for you guys and why they are different. Although you could use the running shoe options that I had mentioned just before. You could use those for walking, and you could use these walking shoes for running, but I have these in my walking picks for two particular reasons. One, I prefer my walking shoes with a lower heel drop. So the heel drop is that difference between the front of the shoe and the thickness of the back of the shoe. So like an example, this shoe has a 4mm drop. So if we just say this is 35mm, this is 39, okay? So 4mm difference there. In the walking, I prefer a lower heel drop. It's more smooth when you land on your heel. When you're walking, going from heel to toe, I find it smoother with a lower heel drop than a high drop that's kind of like you hit the heel and you kind of clunk forward. The other thing that I prefer on my walking shoes is a wider footprint, more contact on the ground. So something much wider like on this shoe. So like this shoe, although it's still pretty wide, it's a little bit less wide than, say, something like this one, right? Let's get into the list of the shoes that I prefer and I think are doing well for walkers out there. New Balance 880, which was also in my running category, is also in the walking category alongside the New Balance More. Less cushioning, 880, more cushioning, the More. It's actually called the More because it's more shoe. So clever. Specifically the More version 6 that is just coming out. The Brooks Ghost Max version 3, that's Brooks Ghost Max, not the regular Ghost, but the Ghost Max. That has much more cushioning, thicker midsole. There's also the Hoka Bondi 9, the latest version, which is kind of more like the versions 5, 6, and 7. So if you like the 5, 6, and 7 Bondis from Hoka, you're going to probably love the new version 9. It's been doing very well. It fits great. They widened the platform back to like what it was on the 5, 6, and 7s. Here's a version 8, and you can see how narrowish it kind of curved in right in here. Especially right in here, it kind of kinked in, created all kinds of problems on the version 8, from squeaking to cutting in, blistering people. So this new version 9 that's out kind of basically fixes all those problems. So great update from Hoka on that, bringing the Bondi back to what it should be. Asics Nimbus, which is right here. Another good one here. Now this one is kind of a weirdo shoe. This one has an 8mm drop, but if you're looking for a lot of cushioning, the platform on this shoe, this wide platform is just fantastic. But it does have a little bit of a higher heel drop, which I did definitely notice. Definitely noticed. Some alternatives are the Ultra, this Via Forward, which has got a 4mm drop. Again, you got that wide platform and lower heel drop on here. You also get the addition of the natural shaped toe box, which is nice too. Also Topo, speaking of Topo, they do have a new shoe called the Aura, A-U-R-A, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. That's been doing very, very well with that 5mm drop and a pretty wide platform. That has been another very good option. Then for walking, the lower drop and wider platform, with pronation control is the Hurricane. This new Hurricane from Saucony has a 6mm drop and a massively wide platform in here. It does get curved a little bit on the side here, but I think that's just to make this thing not so quite so bulky. At least they kept it pretty straight in here for that pronation control. Of course, there's also the Hoka Gaviota, which has a plastic plate running through it, so torsional, really solid on that shoe as well. Those are my picks there. That kind of wraps up my shoe choices there. So I wanted to throw in a little bonus thing of my kind of 3 surprisingly doing really well shoes of the year. And the first one is the new Clifton 10 from Hoka. Adding in that 8mm drop is honestly a cash grab, but it is a great cash grab. Just going to open up Hoka to so many new customers out there with that 8mm drop, and they did a great job on the fit and everything else on that shoe. So number 2 is the Glycerin 22. I think they did a great job on this. The fit is always great. Brooks always does a great job on the fit. And the addition of the 2 density, I didn't see that coming. I think that's really nice, having a more cushion foam down the middle of the shoe with a more stable, firmer foam around the perimeter of the shoe. And my shoe kind of the year right now is really this New Balance 880. I have a full review on this one, and I just love this shoe. It's amazingly light. The platform is wide but not too wide. You can see I really use this shoe, and comes in tons of widths. The fit is great. That 6mm drop is a little controversial for this shoe. I think 8 would have been maybe like the more kind of natural choice, but the fact that they did 6 on here kind of makes this shoe different than everything else and great in the gym. Even just great for even work or something. So, and they kept the price as of right now at $140, which is pretty nice too. A lot of companies have Hoka have upped their price on shoes not just once, but even Hoka even 2 times this year. Yeah, twice. That's right. Anyway, thanks for watching. I know this was kind of a long video. I hope you got some good information out of it. Again, these were all picks of shoes that people are actually getting out there. Again, I saw a couple videos of people doing like their daily shoe picks and stuff, and I don't know who they were picking these shoes for. Most of them were way too lightweight and minimal for most people getting shoes. Definitely podiatry referrals coming in to get shoes. Anyway, thanks for watching, and as always, keep on moving. If you don't move, then you're just standing still. Bye.